Good start to the season. Might be a chance to have a go here, and Bachmann, well, he gets away with it, does he? Leeds think it's a goal. It is a goal. Just over the line. And Daniel Bachmann will not want to see that again. It is another dreadful start for Watford. A huge slice of good luck for Leeds United.
Hello everybody, I'm back. What a weird game of football. We'll get to that. Let's just briefly cover you guys. A big thank you for watching the video I put out over the weekend. I asked for people to like and subscribe. You did. Thank you. I'm growing, and can you do the same again now, please, if you can? I need to get as many people watching this channel as possible. I also asked for comments, and you guys did in your droves. Thank you so much. There were some lovely comments. There were some not so lovely comments, but hey, you get the mix, don't you? And as I said to you then, this is an open forum. I take no offence, apart from a couple, but I take no offence. There's a few nasty people out there, though, I have to say. I think they're the same people that pick their nose in the car, thinking no one can see them. Well, just to let you know, guys, we can see you, and we think you're disgusting. Be nice, and most importantly, hygienic. Let's get on to the match. Can I firstly give the Weird Kit Award to Watford? I mean, it's the strangest kit I think I've ever seen. That combination of colours just doesn't... Have they always had that combination of colours? And Kelme, the kit brand. Has anybody heard of Kelme? I had to Google it before coming on. They've been around since the 1970s, apparently, and they're particularly big in the East, with 300 stores. Tanaka will know it. Huge brand there. Over here, it's just Watford, Alaves, Huesca, and Espanyol. Anyway, congratulations. Where do I start? What a strange game for Leeds United. A game which started easily, should have been a breeze, but wasn't quite, but at the same time was never really in jeopardy. Does that make sense? It will do when I break it down, but here's my thoughts. I was in the stadium last night, and the atmosphere was terrific as ever. Once we got started, and the calamity began in the 7th minute, 5th minute, 7th minute, the stadium seemed to almost hush with this sort of then expectation that the game should be wrapped up. Almost we should now hit the 3rd and move on, 3 points done. So there was this weird lull. We were all singing, trying to get the crowd going again, but it was generally quite subdued. Maybe because it was a school night, eh? So we kicked off our typical 4-2-3-1 formation, and we stuck with the same team that beat Sheffield United with overlapping wing-backs. That was our main attacking format. But we started nice and controlled. We didn't go hell for leather. I like the fact that we just kept a bit more focused, concentrated on keeping a bit of possession as we like, but we did a little less of A to B to B to A. And I think a lot of that is to do with our midfield. Rothwell and Tanaka have got just that little bit more, for me, intellect in the middle of the park. Now, they lack in other areas. Rothwell, for example, he's not got electrifying pace, but he's got a brain on him. Tanaka isn't particularly strong, but he's got a brain on him. And they just seem to think it through a bit more. They create space for themselves, and it's always a thoughtful pass. And I really like that about them. It's brave at times, but it's thoughtful. Firpo and Bogle were bombing on wherever they possibly could, and they looked great. They're really starting to steamroll now. Firpo and Bogle, still question marks in defence, but you can't have it all. We'll get to that. But they were working hard, and I liked the interplay between particularly Bogle on the right-hand side, working with Nonto, and then Aronson moving across to Trio, and they worked really well like that. Aronson had a superb first half of the match. Second half, a little bit different, but the first half, he worked really hard. And he did a lot of good things. So, we'll get to the individuals. But what happened? Well, Daniel Bachmann happened. Thank you. Christmas certainly came early. God, he had a mare. Ball gets moved out, as you can see here, to Ramazani, who started the game really well. And they always say, don't they? Don't shoot, you don't score. And we didn't see enough of this last season. I loved the way he just pushed it out outside the box and gave it everything he could. And who knows, something could have come from it, and it most certainly did. Daniel Bachmann. Well, the ball didn't seem to move an awful lot. He's just had a nightmare, hasn't he? He's got his footing wrong, misjudged it, whatever's happened. Thank God it's Watford's keeper in the frame and not Leeds United. So it creeps over 1-0. A matter of minutes later, we're doing the same thing. We're moving the ball up the park really quickly. Tanaka, Rothwell getting things going again, and a lovely cross comes in from Nonto. A real special cross. The ball skips off the surface. Bachmann parries it badly, straight into the line of Aronson, and he had the easiest job. He went to the right this time. Maybe he heard me talking about the fact that he always shoots to the to the near post, to the left post. He went to the right this time. So we're now 2-0 up, and the game settles down. Sadly, at this stage, an injury to Ramazani. Perfectly legal tackle from the Watford defender, actually it was the Watford winger, tracking back, overlapping, doubling up on Ramazani, and he tackled very hard. Came across him, got the ball fair and square, but an injury, and that meant Manor Solomon came on, and to be honest, he didn't quite look ready. But that's where we were. In about the 25th minute, we seemed to drop off a bit, and Watford got a bit more of the game. Some of the movement from Watford, you can see why this team can score goals. They're a big, strong team. I don't know what they're feeding these boys down in Watford, but they're big lads. They're very strong, very capable, and they move the ball at pace. I think this was the point at which the crowd had gone a little quiet, a little unsure, because we're just not used to being in this position, aren't we? 25 minutes into a game, we're already 2-0 up, and it feels like the game should be dead and buried. It's just not our way most recently. Then in the 30th minute, something great happened. Willie Nonto happened. He did this brilliant little feint over the ball as it was passed to him from Bogle. He left it, and then it was reversed. I think it was Aronson, might have been Perot actually, pushed it through across into the box, and he ran onto it, had a great shot. I was so desperate for it to go in. There was actually one slightly earlier than that as well, which he hit across goal, right to left. Desperate for him to score, bless him. He's just on the verge of doing some really great things. I love his work rate. He's doing all he can to be the best player on the park. Not quite achieving that. That goes to another player, but we'll get there. So half-time comes, and as we've seen in recent weeks, a very different Leeds United entered the field in the second half. Watford had clearly had some stiff words at half-time, and they came out without any fear. I think that's the best way to say it. I suppose when a game is dead and buried, or considered dead and buried, you've got nothing to lose. And that seemed to be the way Watford played their football in the second half. And they really came at us. In actual fact, they had the majority of the possession at Elland Road, and we can't say that happens very often. I think by about the 65th minute, they'd almost equalled up the possession stats, and I thought that was rather impressive on their part. They're not a bad side, and you can understand with a few tweaks and maybe a few extra players, like someone who can stick it in the back of the net, they could well be a force, but maybe not this season. And it was around this time that the Leeds defenders started to have a little bit of a wobble. I just noticed Rodon getting particularly frustrated with himself, which he tends to do. I think that can be misconstrued as him getting frustrated with his teammates, but I don't think he is. Albeit one particular moment when he seemed to pass the ball back to Rothwell, and it was a bad pass, and he seemed to be upset with Rothwell for not being in the right place when he passed the ball. In hindsight, I think he'll probably look back at it and realise he just didn't look up to see where he was passing it. And then the goal for Watford, which was untidy. Junior Firpo not defending well, as we've seen him numerous times get beaten on the outside. Strauch coming across to try and assist, also being beaten. Let's be fair, I mean, he is our best defender on the pitch as far as I'm concerned, but he was beaten in this moment, and the ball was put across, poorly cleared away by Joe Rodon, almost passed to the player for them to score. It was an untidy goal for Leeds United to concede, but it was just an odd night. It was really odd. I'm thankful I went and saw the game. It was a 2-1 win. Very pleased with the 3 points. And there's lots to work on. Our front four did a lot, it must be said. 10 attempts on goal in the first 38 minutes cannot be sniffed at. We didn't do an awful lot after that, but we did plenty. Let's start at the front and talk about a few players. Joel Perot frustrated me a little bit tonight. There was a bit of the old Joel Perot creeping back in. There was 2 occasions when he should have buried it, absolutely buried it, and it was tame. One particular opportunity directly in front of goal. You've got to bury it. If you want to be a number 9 for Leeds United or any top side, you have to bury those opportunities. And another where he feinted it across into the box. He had the ball on his right foot, and you can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to cut it back, but got it wrong. Instead of just levering it, I'm sure he would have scored against Daniel Backman. He didn't. Little frustrating. Aronson faded in the second half, maybe a bit tired. Solomon is clearly getting himself up to speed. He didn't look on it tonight. He clearly wasn't ready to play the minutes that he did in the end, and yeah, he looked out of sorts to a degree. There was opportunity. He tried to get in the game by scoring a goal when he could have laid the ball off in one particular moment to Bogle and others. He just seemed to be making the wrong decisions. But he'll get there. We know he will. Important minutes for him because he's going to be starting the next game against Bristol City, that's for sure. And a lovely little cameo from Dan James, who came on and, unlike him, and I've criticised him enough for it, his end product seemed to be worked on. 2 particularly great crosses. One opportunity to put the ball in the box, which he didn't choose, which he should have really. He shot on goal when he could have slid it into Joseph. You can't blame him for that. He's come on the pitch, he wants to make an impression. But 2 particular moments where he passed the ball beautifully into the box, and one of those, Joseph most certainly should have scored. You can see it here now. Again, you guys, Perot, Joseph, you've been handed a huge opportunity to be the new number 9s for Leeds United. You've got to take these chances. If you want this, Joseph, you've got to do it, my man, because Leeds United will spend some money on someone else. They just will. You've got to make your mark now. And things like that have to be buried. I'm sorry. Joe Rothwell and Tanaka in the midfield. Well, what can I say? They were doing the business. Rothwell faded quite badly. I think the guy's knackered. Every time the camera came to him, his face was like a beetroot, bless him. He looked done in. But his deliveries from dead balls are fantastic. It's great. And Tanaka, terrific. But they seem to be, as a partnership, they're getting closer and closer all the time, working together. There was a couple of slips here and there. What would you expect? They're not defensive midfielders, I feel like they're number 8s. So it's tricky for them. But they're working incredibly hard. They look the part. Tanaka's the best player on the pitch for me. I mean, if the guy scored goals like a Rafinha, we'd be touting him as the best thing since sliced bread. It's not his role, obviously, but he's doing some fantastic things in the middle of the park. And I just hope he's not Brighton's future next player. Let's just hope that's the case. I think he's great. If we've got a player like that on song, possibly Ampadu comes in alongside him, who knows where we go. Very exciting. Junior Firpo, well, he did as expected. I think I mentioned it to you guys in the last video. He'll get booked tonight and he'll be off at the weekend. Presumably he's got something on with the missus. I don't know. But anyway, he's out. So I'm surprised Daniel Farke didn't bring Schmidt on for a bit of time just to give him a few minutes. He chose to bring on his son, Sam Byram, so I presume Byram will be playing on the left in the next match, which would be a bizarre decision, but I wouldn't put it past Daniel Farke, not for a second. And that was it. That's the game, everybody. It was just one of those games. There's going to be a few like that this season, that you just come away thankful that we picked up the 3 points and it's done. It'll be forgotten about. It'll be that weird game that you forget about at the end of the season, that, oh yeah, that strange game we had against Watford. On to Bristol City at the weekend, and I'll be back. I'll possibly do a video to talk about the game, listen to what Daniel Farke has to say in his press conference, eagle-eyed, see if he's got another praising session for Patrick Bamford on the horizon. I don't know if you guys caught that in his last press conference. My God, anybody think he's Lionel Messi the way he was talking about him? Anyway, I'll see you guys at the weekend. I appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts on the game. Speak to you soon. Much love.